Hello, everyone out there. Exciting day of chess ahead of us. We are commentating on the knockout stages to get into the quarter-final of this online FIDE chess Olympiad. It's going to be very exciting. So what is the online Olympiad? Well, it's a great event where many nations from around the world have taken part. So I think 163 in total. And we're getting near to the end of this fantastic event now. Lots of very exciting games today. You can see the pairings here, and the way it works, the top nation in each group has qualified already. And then today we have this people who are trying to get into, so they came second or third. The teams who are playing today came second and third in their original group, and the winners will go through to the quarterfinal. It's a knockout style competition, truly a global experience. And it's early, early for me as well. I would like to say that teams within each pool play just a single round robin with players playing against their corresponding board. So you're going to have people roughly the same ratings playing each other. It's over 6 boards as well. And I believe they play 2 games against each other. So now I'm very excited because well, my co-host, awesome. My co-host, we haven't done a bit of commentary or any commentary for a while, but we did commentate over in Gibraltar, and he's even got better ginger hair than me, which is amazing.
I thought maybe I was on the fake ginger, but yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, Simon, and doing this with you. My very first online commentary, actually.
Good. Your first ever online commentary.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. So exciting.
It's exciting, you know, and what an introduction. We've got the online Olympiad preliminaries. It's a knockout.
It is a knockout, and it's going to be fantastically interesting what happens today, this knockout. Knockouts are always exciting, aren't they? If we just look at the teams, I mean, talking about the teams, the first match that we've got to commentate on, so they're staggered as well. The first match is a match between Germany and Hungary.
Yeah.
So that's already started. So we will shortly dive into the games there. So we will have a look at that very shortly. The games, the 6 boards. But yeah, Jovanka. So are you excited?
I'm incredibly excited, actually, because you know I have been playing for England, and we didn't sadly make it to this stage. So I did feel kind of like this Olympiad withdrawal symptom, because every weekend I was playing chess, but now I can enjoy it in another way. So I'm really excited. And also I'm curious to see who will win, because it's an interesting time control, 15 minutes plus 5 seconds. It sounds like you've got a long time. You actually don't. And it gets, you know, it's unbelievable how quickly the time drops down. And then of course you have this extra element now of it being a knockout stage. And then I'm particularly excited for the Armageddon. if there's a tie between the 2 countries, then I'm excited for that kind of concept. So
yeah, I mean, it's going to be very, very exciting. Yeah. So Armageddon, everything will be decided on one game if we get to that, which could be absolutely crazy.
I'm quite excited about this match as well between Hungary and Germany, because I do think Germany haven't put out their strongest team, and looking at who's playing, I'm kind of a little bit surprised by their choices, actually, because I noticed that they played Dennis Wagner on board 1, and he wasn't their biggest hitter in, let's say, in the top division. So we'll see how things go. And what I also really like about this online Olympiad is the combination. And that was something that was really special to me when I was in fact playing, was this combination that was 2 men, 2 women, and 2 juniors. That's so unusual. It's unbelievable stuff. You really feel a sense of unity there.
It's a nice mix, isn't it? I think to have this combination of not just the strongest as such players, but juniors and a mix of different people playing. And everyone who's watching this, you can see the pairings on the other side of the board there, so you can see who is actually playing. But I would also like to mention that Jovanka, you were actually playing this competition for England yourself, weren't you? So
yes, I was. Yeah,
you've experienced the whole thing.
I did. It was completely, I've never ever done anything like that before. And it was quite unusual because, I mean, I don't know, the other teams were doing it in a different way, but we had things very separate. So like someone dealt with the men who were playing, another person dealt with the juniors, another person dealt with women. So when we all logged into the Zoom call, we actually didn't know the rest of our team. So it was quite exciting. We were like, oh yeah, it was David today. Hal and Mickey on the team. Oh, and look, it's Matthew Wadsworth for the juniors. So yeah, it was good fun.
Exciting stuff. And I mean, the Olympiads, obviously, because in the times we're living at the moment, these very peculiar times. I would like to say I've never played at the actual Olympiad, which happens every 2 years. I know Jovanka's played many of these competitions, but they're meant to be really the best chess events there are out there. They take place every 2 years, and all the nations come together. It's a real event. So just the fact that they're able to do something online, maybe not quite the same, but it's fantastic to get so many different nations playing is a really cool thing, I think.
No, I completely agree. I mean, the Olympiads and like for me as well, the European Team Championships, a great opportunity to kind of feel patriotic about your country. And, you know, I did miss that. And the online Olympiad has been like a really great substitute for that feeling because, you know, you really want, you know, it's one of the great things to kind of get behind your country and cheer everyone on and kind of feel this sense of excitement. And that has been missing this year. And so this, I think, is brilliant. But yeah, you're right. Olympiads are amazing events. You know, they're so huge.
And there's lots of partying that goes on as well. There's the famous Bermuda party
for the
at
young
the Olympiad.
People. The older ones, they give up. They're like, no.
Are you putting yourself in the older category now, Jovanka? Surely not. You're not that old yet.
I like my sleep. What can I say?
I don't believe you. You're not that old. But it is great. And so today, before we go into the games, and we'll get over to the games very shortly, this is the playoff to see which teams get into the quarterfinal. Yeah. And everything's going to happen now over the next 4 days. So the final is on Sunday, which is going to be fantastic. Who's going to be the strongest chess nation in the whole world? You've got the big guys up there, most of them already, like America, and they're all going to go for this title. But today is to see who gets into the quarterfinal. So shall we go over to the chess and have a little look? What's happening?
Let's dive in. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we could just go through the boards in a random order, and we're going to start with this game here between two of the female players, and this is let me just have a look on the list there. You can see the players' names at the bottom, I believe, of the list on the other side of the board, and their ratings, by the way, might not be their FIDE ratings, so don't get carried away by this. But maybe we're just the current position already. I mean, there's many exchanges going on here.
Yeah, there is a lot of exchanges, and there's a big time difference as well. I can see that Anne-Marie Much is got 2 minutes left on the clock, which isn't ideal because you have to have a calm disposition here, you know, because otherwise when the clock starts ticking, you can start panicking and making all sorts of trivial blunders. But I think the position here is quite straightforward, and I think the position is headed to a draw.
It certainly looks like a draw here. I mean, I can quickly blast through the opening moves. We won't spend too much time on the opening because there's a lot of stuff going on. But it starts off with the Scotch, which is d4. Mm-hmm. And after an exchange in d4, we have this kind of mainish line with e5. The Scotch is quite a good club player's sort of opening, and it's just quite a good opening. It's quite easy to learn, yet quite aggressive. So I do recommend a lot of you might want to play this kind of position. As white, you get this pawn on e5, which can often be a nuisance. But it does seem, after more moves are getting played, that we have a number of exchanges. And I think Black's clearly showing that she knows her opening theory here, because we can have a look at the time control. And as Jovanka said, if we get to the current position, more exchanges, boom, boom, boom. And the current position...
The vacuum cleaner's out.
It is hoovering up.
Hoovering up all the pieces. That's it. It's going to be a draw, which I think is a good result for Black, because I do know Anne-Marie Much. She was former world junior champion, and so I think the Germans would have been hoping to score on that board. So shall we have a look?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I would say if I was going to pick either side here, I'd slightly prefer to be white in this position, wouldn't you? Just because your bishop can sit on d4, you can attack a7. A7 might be weak, and the rook can sort of swing over. Maybe white's slightly better, but it should be a draw, of course, yeah?
Yeah.
So, okay. So let's move on to the next board. Do you have a board you'd like to go to, Jovanka?
Yeah, I'd like to see the top board. but I think it's difficult to find them. So let's go to.
Well, let's have a look. See if I can.
So this is the junior board against Revan.
Okay, so the junior board here, it's Grandmaster versus International Master. And I suppose we will keep up to date just with the current positions now at the moment. A5 just being played from black. And if I'm going to make a snap judgment of this position, I would say I quite like white's position because of the pawn on E5. This is looking like a very nice protected pass pawn. Bishop on B2 could come to life later on, and bishop on B7. So a way to assess positions, I find, is you look at the pawn structure, you look at the pieces. Who's got the better pawn structure? Who's got the better pieces? And then you can work out plans when you've looked at that. And you can see this bishop on B7, quite a bad piece. It's blocked in by the pawn. White's knight can come to C5. I mean, it looks quite nice for white, would you say?
I would also say that. I mean, the knight on E4 looks quite impressive, but at the same time, it can be exchanged off. You know, if it gets a bit menacing, bishop takes E4, and then, you know, black has got control. White's got control of the dark squares. The only thing is that white has to monitor any counterplay. Like I'm thinking G5, you know, if you at the right time, because that's super important to kind of keep control of the position. You can't let your opponent break out, because I can also see a situation where black breaks out, sacrifices a pawn, and suddenly the light squares are a bit vulnerable. But, you know,
yeah,
I agree with you. I mean, white has a nice control.
I think you're right. I mean, in this kind of position where we're saying white should be better because of some of the things we talked about, it's very important to look out for your opponent's breaks. And what I mean by breaks, pawn breaks are often a way that can change the position and give a lot of counterplay. And Jovanka's pointed out G5. There's also C5 as well.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. If this knight were exchanged off, you know, and the light squares were potentially vulnerable, then, you know, black should give up a pawn and just to get the pieces active.
Play. Yeah, so white's got to be careful of them. But we like white's position here.
I
think it looks good.
And the queen on E6 is a blockader. Queens are terrible blockaders.
Very bad blockaders, definitely. And you can't really, I mean, you'd love to blockade a pass pawn with your knight. Yeah. But the problem is if you ever move the knight on this square, then the knight will come to C5 at the right moment. You won't be able to exchange that one off. So
exactly,
it looks good.
It looks good.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go on to another board now. And I think the top three boards, we actually have webcams. So I don't know if we're going to get the webcams for this top game. And this is the top game between Victor Erdos and Dennis Wagner. And Dennis Wagner down to just 2 minutes here, Jovanka.
Yeah, that's always a problem with the time. And you can see a webcam for Dennis. But yeah, I mean, the position looks quite solid. It's
opposite color bishops again, isn't it? So
it is opposite color bishops. I mean, I once went to a lecture which John Ludwig Hammer, a Norwegian grandmaster, gave on opposite color bishops with rooks, and he was of the opinion that they were not that drawish. But here it looks pretty drawish to me. I mean, there's no pawn breaks. I mean, you have to look at things like plans and the potential to create pass pawns and activity. And I don't see any potential to create a pass pawn for white.
I think a draw offer has just been made by the player of the white pieces. And it looks like white can just put the rook on C5. As soon as the rooks come off the board, it's kind of dead drawn. One of the nicest sayings I heard about bishops of opposite colors, Jovanka, was... Boris Spassky. Have you heard what Boris Spassky said about bishops of opposite colors?
Is it? Yeah, I think so. Like my ex-wife or something. A ship sailing through the night, something.
I think it was something like that. He basically said opposite color bishops is like my marriage to my ex-wife. We were just moving on opposite colors, opposite directions. It wasn't working. We never connected. I mean, we just kept missing each other, as you see these guys do. So I quite like that that saying. By the way, black has turned down the draw. So Dennis Wagner quite confidently turned down the draw. That's I mean, well, it's brave, but it is
brave. I mean, but okay, now I think we're going to see a draw with rook f5 or something.
There's actually a trick here. One trick is if black really wants to play on after rook f5, rook b6 could lose, because of bishop d4. And then you might go, oh,
That's
yummy.
you get greedy.
And then there's a bit of a cheeky check coming in there. So I think black should really try to take the draw soon, don't you?
Yeah, I think so. Victor Erdos has actually got a reputation for being incredibly solid. So I trust in his abilities to draw this.
Okay, let's move on, because that's going to be a draw. So it looks at the moment Hungary are just doing well on one board. So we need to update the other games. So we're now going to go to the next one. And this is the board 2 game, I believe, between Daniel Friedman, who's a really experienced grandmaster, and Thomas Benush. Yeah, nearly said it right. So,
I don't know, actually. I'm not Hungarian, so apologies.
I think Hungarian is one of the hardest languages to learn, isn't it? Out of every language.
I've heard that. I've heard that. That's the case.
Well, I'm still trying to learn English and struggling. So you
and me both, Simon.
Sorry, yeah. Well, I think your English is slightly better than mine, but we need to get lessons off Spidler, I think, for that. So, but going to this position, we're diving in, and black just playing h5. It's equal on pawns, equal on points. It's an ending, and I guess this is going to be heading towards a draw. But you could say that white's pawns are a little bit, extended. They're a little bit too advanced. They could be weak, Jovanka, maybe?
They could be weak. I mean, you make the wrong move and you allow a knight into f5. I can suddenly see this d4 pawn and the h4 pawn being very vulnerable. Having said that, the f5 square is white. White has a white square bishop, so it's difficult to see any big problems. I mean, also white has the better king. Right. It's a kind of very double-edged endings, because white does have the better king. Also pressure against the b7 pawn. I'm also thinking that if a knight does get to f5 and say there's a bishop on d3, perhaps d5 is in the air, the d5 and get d6 in. And so that this is only, I'm playing, often when I have endgames, I like to think ahead and just to visualize what I want. So I'm just thinking, for example, if you went bishop d3 now and he went knight f5, then of course
you have this move d5.
Go d5. You can go d5 and get d6.
And that pawn could be a winner. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. But black does have an active rook, and this is one of the key things for saving bad endgames. If you have active rooks, you can harass those pieces. Like for instance, like rook c3. Also you have rook c1 and then maybe rook h1. But so double-edged. I think I can see white eking out a win here.
Yeah, this bishop d3, which you pointed out very quickly, it is an extremely clever move, actually, because we also mentioned if the black knight can get to this fantastic square, then black's pieces come to life. But if black can never play this move, knight to f5, the knight is actually on a very, very bad square. It's a good video cam picture there of Friedman's head. I think I know that the people can't see it at the moment, but we might get that camera back up a bit later. But you can just about see the top of his hair there. I don't think one thing I've noticed. There we go. Look at that, and we can see a nice light bulb on the ceiling. Oh, he's gone. He's gone for a walk with 2 minutes left on his clock. Wow.
Okay, you're allowed to walk. I wasn't sure whether you were, when I was playing, I really wasn't sure whether you were allowed to leave your chair.
No, I thought if you needed the toilet, it was a bucket under the table.
I thought you weren't allowed to leave the room. I thought that those kind of. But then again, I didn't question the rules, so please don't quote me. No. Don't try and give him a yellow card by saying you obviously says this. No.
Yes.
It's very rare that I read rules. I'm like, yeah.
Or maybe that was actually Dennis Wagner. I wasn't sure because it was only the top of the head. It was very hard to work out who it was. I thought it was Friedman, but it might have been someone from Dennis Wagner from the other game.
So maybe I do think it's quite an interesting endgame because of course this black has played rook c3, harassing this bishop. Obviously, white really would like to play king f1 and king e2, but doesn't have time. But and so now we have the situation that if you do make some effort to win the b7 pawn, say perhaps going bishop takes b7, then the knight can come into f5, and that's a very strong piece there.
And this might be what's happening. And just to let everyone know, the reason that person actually did leave the board was that the game was over, and it was Dennis Wagner that game.
It was a draw.
Okay. Yeah, it was a draw. Yeah. So that's why he got up. So Okay, so this one may be slightly better for white,
Yeah.
but I think black's got very good drawing chances
Should we move
here as
into
well.
Elizabeth Pates against?
Let's do it.
So, because it's quite interesting is that Petra has 14 seconds left against Pates' 4 minutes, which is substantial. Because I can tell you from experience that when you have 14 seconds left, your head doesn't think. It doesn't go to the right place. And it's very difficult to suddenly reset and just go, okay, I'm calm. Instead, you're just playing on instinct and there's no opportunity, like you would an over the board game, kind of get yourself calm and just kind of gauge your reactions from your opponent's body language. Instead, all you're looking at is your clock ticking down. And I think Lizzie is going to score Germany's first win.
Yeah, I mean, as well as the time being bad, white is simply just in a lost position. I mean, white has lost a pawn, but if you compare the minor pieces here, the knight on e5 is such a beast of a piece.
Fantastic.
It's what they call the octopus,
I mean, you can't even go queen f6 and try to get a... Well, I mean, I think maybe that's the best shot to do. Yeah, well, this move I'm not so sure about because queen f... Oh, okay.
Well, I think the queen's coming around with mate here.
One.
Yeah, it's just game over. We might as well stick with this because I think it will literally be over any second. You can see Lizzie on the camera there.
Yeah.
And where is the finish?
Well, now it's queen c1 and also just queen takes c2 and then queen takes h2 and then it's game over. So Germany will be in the lead.
Yes. So, well, we actually have a result. We're saying Germany's in the lead. This one, okay. Lizzie has won. So we'll go over to where the result is. And we have a win for Hungary, which means it's all level. Very exciting. Ooh. This was Gara actually managed to beat Scholes. So with queen c4, and we didn't get a chance to look at that game. But at the moment, yeah, all even with 3 games to go, Jovanka. So I think we should concentrate on the games that are still going on.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's have a look at. Let's go back to the junior board, rather than.
Well, okay. So I'll try to go there, and the junior board is this one where we thought white was doing very well, and it still looks like white is doing very well here. Opposite kind of bishops, but white is starting to get a lot of pressure, and there's maybe an f5 move coming. And if white gets a chance to play f5, let's say that black just plays a move like bishop d3, we can play f5, and after pawn takes f5, a move such as rook g8 could be an idea. Rook f8 checkmate is
you can also perhaps play queen f2 to kind of try to. The materialist in me is trying to win back the material. But maybe there's
queen f2 as well is a strong move as well.
Yeah, or maybe you can even just there has to be some breakthrough. It's often said that when you have opposite color bishops in middle games, that the side with the initiative has a next to winning advantage.
Yeah,
because you just can't stand on their squares.
Okay, so we have some more results. Sorry to cut in, but it's only 2 games going on now. This game, and it looks like everything is square because there was a draw on this board over here. So the 2 games remaining is now they've got into some ending here. Again, it's jumping so quickly, and this one, this is another game which looks like it might be a draw. So it might come down to this. And it has actually happened. F5 was played. Pawn takes f5, rook g8, threatening checkmate. But now look at this. Look at this.
Rook takes
h3, and the time is going down very quickly. Oh, what's happening here? Does white have a checkmate here?
Does white have?
I think so. I think white's winning. This could be the key game.
Yeah, because after king e6, you have rook f6, don't you? Oh, yeah. You also have queen b8.
I think queen g8 is going to force checkmate.
Queen g8, isn't it? Yeah.
And then rook d8, and he's found it. He has found it. So this now is going to be checkmating. Next move, king d7, rook d8. Let's show that on the board. Will be checkmate, and this is going to be over. So that makes it with Hungary 1 game up. So it's all down to this board here, Jovanka, and they need Daniel Friedman with the white pieces to somehow win this ending to save the match. Is that possible?
I think it is possible. But you need a lot of help, like most things. In order to win these drawn positions, you have to have some assistance from your opponent. So
So it is possible, but black needs to go seriously wrong
I'm just thinking that there could perhaps be a way if you play your king. I'm thinking something like this. So if you get your king to e3 and say black is careless with rook h1, and you have ideas of going f5. And so my idea is after pawn takes f5, king goes to f. Yeah,
let's
got
show
it. The
that.
walk.
So if we go rook h1, f5, pawn takes f5,
yeah, so I mean,
and now king f4, and
king f4. I'm trying to
get to f6.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to get to f6 and use this pawn on f5 as a shield. So,
and this is actually a very clever idea. I mean, a lot of the time, you want to. It's like in some attacking positions, you can use your opponent's pawn as Jovanka's pointed out as a shield, and in this kind of position, if you get this kind of structure, black doesn't have any more checks, and white's probably winning here with the checkmate ideas of the e-pawn. So there's a little bit of danger here, but I think you're right that black really has to do something wrong. Well, rook h1 was played. And he didn't try. He didn't go for f5. He didn't play f5.
I think we might see f5. But the problem is that I think it's very easy to defend. Oh,
so he's gone this way, and now
now
it should be an easy draw now.
Now just simply checks on the side, and now bring the king in to defend.
Yeah, I mean this should be a draw. Again, white's a little bit more active here, but black can just
now
check
it's
the king away.
Straightforward, just rook a7 and.
So that means Hungary are going to win this first game, this first match, and Germany must therefore win in the next round. In the next round, there'll be a little break after this game, but this must be a draw now, of course.
It's completely
easy draw.
Yeah. Unless black wants to win.
Well, that'd just be greedy, too greedy.
You did put the king on. He did put the king on c7. I'm just thinking. Okay, now it's fine, but I'm just thinking, king g6 and king f5, and then again. I need help.
As you played in this competition, Jovanka, are you aware of the match situation? So do you think that Daniel Friedman at this moment in time knows that he needs to try and win in order to save the match? Is he aware of the score at the moment, or is he not aware?
It depends on what mode he's playing. What did I tell you, Simon?
Yes, well, he's being forced to win by the looks of it. It's not like he hasn't got any choice. He has to win now. Because
now the risk is all in. Why didn't he take the pawn? I guess that's.
But Jovanka, when you were playing, did you know the score when you were playing?
So this goes to show a little bit of how I was playing. So you have two options of play in chess.com. You can play with a focus mode, which means you just see your own board, or if you're playing unfocused, then you actually see the results. So the very first times I played in it with focus mode, and so I didn't see anything. So for me, it was just random. But in the last match, where it was really, really important for me to know the results, and I played with focus mode, unfocused mode, and there I could see how everything was going, and then I could kind of gauge. But since I was one of the first people to finish, it didn't really matter so much. And plus, the emotions get a little bit too much that you don't really think in anything other than your game. So like here, I very much doubt whether white or black is thinking about the match result. I think they're just making random moves in order to not lose on time.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that maybe Friedman's aware of the match situation and he realised that he had no chance to win, so he just doesn't really care anymore. It's like a draw and a loss is the same result for the team, so it's just play some moves. I mean, it's probably going to be a draw here. Well, it is now, I think.
Yeah, now it is. Yeah. So king
coming to d1. So,
but I mean, it's only a point difference, so.
And it's, again, the individual scores not that important. It's the match scores which are important. Is that right? So the match score here, now it's over, is Hungary have won because of a couple of important wins, and maybe the win that's really critical is the win on the junior board there for Hungary, which has helped them to beat Germany in the first game. Yeah. So so that was an exciting round. That went quick, didn't it? I mean, it's actually a quick time limit.
It's a contradiction, this time control. You think you have a long time, you don't.
Yeah, it was. I mean, so we're getting a bit more used to the time control now, and it's quick and fast, but it's enough time also to do some calculation as well, isn't it? So you get that chance to do a little bit of calculation, but not too much.
Once you calm down, I mean. It's different from an online. I have to say, it's very much a different experience to an online game, because first of all, you have the Zoom camera, you have you're very much aware that you must be complicit with all the rules, And then, of course, there's still that sensation that you are playing for your country and that your result does matter. So you do feel pressure.
Okay, so we're gonna now, let's just remind everyone, the second round of this Germany versus Hungary match will be coming up very soon. So can Germany fight back and bring it off to a playoff, which would be really exciting? Well, we'll see in a short amount of time, but we're going to take our first break of the day, and we'll be back with all the action shortly. So see you in a minute or two.
See you.
Hello, and we're back with the second round of this match between Hungary and, of course, Germany. It's going to be very exciting. Hungary took the first game, so Germany need to win over the 6 boards in this match to level the score and take it to Armageddon. And I think we all want to see Armageddon. Jovanka, I mean, Armageddon would be very exciting. I mean, the Armageddon rules are one game, isn't it? It's just one game to decide.
One player, you know, each team will choose their best player, and they will then draw lots, and they will then decide who plays black, who plays white, and it will all fall down to this one game. Oh, it's unbelievable. It's almost like a penalty shootout, right?
It is. I'm glad England are not involved then, because they don't have a very good track record, especially against Germany, shall we say.
No.
But it's going to be interesting. But first of all, Germany need to win, of course, this match over the 6 board. So it's very tense, and we got the games up and running already. You can see the pairings; it's the same pairings. I think they just switch colour. I know some we've had some substitutions actually. Hungary have brought in some new players by the looks of it. So they're trying to strengthen their team, even though they won the last round.
Yes,
they're mixing it up. So interesting.
Perhaps some substitutions that I can see is that Petra Pap has been replaced by Huang Tang Trang, very strong grandmaster from Hungary, and I think that's the one that's the main one. I think
that's the only one I can see as well. And well, let's have a look at this board, this very exciting position. Actually, I'm going to go for the opening here because it's something I played myself, and this is Wagner versus Erdos. And it starts off with Slav, and this is a opening. I know Jovanka plays as black. And now after A6, Queen C2. And this is an indication that Wagner knows Germany needs to take some risks. It involves a pawn sacrifice. D takes C4, and now we get this position. I really love playing these positions as white, but it's personal preference. White has given up the queen side, given up a pawn, but taken over the center of the board. So very exciting position, Jovanka.
I'm glad you didn't mention our game there, because I fell for a nasty opening trap.
Was that at the big slick or
it was
something?
at the big slick.
Yes.
I went G6 and you went bishop F5, bishop G.
Oh, was that after Queen C2? Yeah.
Yeah, I went G6 because I thought, well, the bishop out. And then after bishop G5, I just went bishop G7. And after bishop takes F6, I lose the pawn.
Because, I actually managed to trick Jovanka once in this line. And the point being, I can actually go, oh, hello, thank you. And you can't really take that one because I take on C8. So that was a while back, Jovanka.
It was a while back. And I remember you were very nice about it afterwards. You said, next time you'll play better. Don't worry.
Is that nice? Doesn't sound that nice.
No, because you kind of gave me a tap on the shoulder and you were like, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was like,
well, do you know what, Jovanka? It's a lot easier to be nice when you've won rather than when you've lost. That's one thing I've found. So, okay, but now we have this continuation where white plays B3. And this is a very standard move to try and break up black's pawn formation. And the point being, if black takes on B3, you take back with the pawn, and you have this extra A file to play along. Maybe some tactics on B5 at some point. And also the C file can be quite useful towards C6. And it is kind of personal preference. I mean, I like playing white in these positions because it's a very aggressive attacking position. I think that's why Wagner's gone for this slightly risky idea because of the match situation. But would you take white or black in this kind of structure, Jovanka?
Yeah, I mean, I do like my material, but I'm trying to groom myself into this idea that material isn't necessarily important. What's much more important is that you have development and you have very simple and very easy moves. Because one of the things that my trainer, because the last year I've been working with someone and he's been trying to drum into me, is that you should try to get yourself into positions where you don't need to be a genius to win. Or you don't need to be a genius to save yourself or to find the winning plan, etc. Just simple moves. And so I like this position because it's simple, because you have very clear-cut ideas. It's just about developing and let black find the solutions to his problems.
Yes, and I mean, I've played this thing with bishop d3, and the problem that black has is that it's very hard to castle. And white can easily castle, like say, very simple plan. Because if black ever castles, if people at home can imagine this, let's just say after bishop castles, bishop e7, let's say, I don't know, rook e1, castles. The problem here is that white always has the move e5.
Yeah.
and the knight on f6 has to move, and then you just take on h7. So this is an ongoing idea that white has in this kind of structure of e5.
Yeah.
So I think doesn't black normally try to play c5 to get some counterplay?
Yeah, I would say black plays c5, but again, in order to get c5, white will already have castled and be ahead in development. So I think black then has to time the c5 in a very accurate manner, because obviously you don't want to play it so early if you're not ready for the opening.
Yeah.
Because if you open up lines, this is perfect hunting ground for your king. So
yeah, you're right. I mean, c5 is kind of a way to get counterplay, but there's even pawn sacrifices idea with d5 in this type of position where, okay, black wins another pawn, but all of a sudden you get this fantastic play against the black king. I really like this Wagner's position here, Jovanka. And like you mentioned, often chess is not always who's got the better position, but it's who's got the easier position to play, especially at these quicker time limits where you have to sort of just get on with it. You can't mess about. So Wagner doing all right there. Should we go to another board now?
Let's go down to board number 2.
Okay, I don't know if this is the next board, but yeah, okay,
yeah, this is number 2.
Brilliant.
So Friedman, Catalan. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, we'll probably just stick with the current position. It was a Catalan opening just because they're going so quick. And it looks fairly even. You could say the black king's a bit weak here, Jovanka, because it's being opened up. But it seems Friedman has quite good play against the central structure.
Yeah, so I had to stop and count the pawns. Because often you assume that the material is level, but then you realize it's actually not. But yeah, it is level. But yeah, there's a pressure on the center.
Is it actually level? I think white's actually. I just realised white's pawned up. Is that right?
Pawn up. Okay. Yes. White's pawn up. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I only just realised that.
So.
Yeah. But I think black's going to win one back on one of these two squares. Interesting position, Jovanka. But I feel that there could be many exchanges going on here in this type of structure. So I don't think Friedman's doing too badly with the black piece.
I don't think. It's difficult for me to say, actually. I suspect that you're right. Black seems to be quite active pieces, and also this pressure against the center. But at the same time, I'm not particularly happy about this weak king, because if you do take on d5, then this pawn structure is really bad with f7, f6, and h7. And the queens and the rooks are still on the board, and that makes me a little bit uncomfortable. But then. Yeah, but then how to defend this pawn on c4 in a kind of very satisfactory way? Yeah,
it could be. I don't know. It's a big decision here for whites, and we often get this in chess games that a lot of moves you can play quite quickly when you're playing chess, but often there's something like three critical moments in the game, and they're really the turning points in the game. And I think white may be in that critical moment now that if he doesn't do anything quickly, black will start grabbing these pawns and be all right. So white's got to try to generate some kind of play. So this is why he's having a longer think here, I feel.
I agree with you. It's a critical moment here. So
Okay, let's move on. We'll try to get through the boards quickly so everyone can see. Remember, Germany need to win this one to get back. And this one is Elizabeth Patz with the white pieces and playing against Tran Hong of Hungary, who's the new substitution. This is a fairly sort of, don't be put off always by the evaluation bar. I know everyone can see that, and it looks like, people are saying in the chat, white's winning because white's plus, whatever. But this is actually quite a normal-ish position. It seems to come from a Dutch. I'll show the opening. I've got to show the Dutches, Jovanka. And we have now the Leningrad Dutch, and at some point, black plays a rather peculiar idea, and the peculiar idea is, we'll just go through the moves reasonably quickly, this move d5, because now it's sort of some hybrid of what we call the Leningrad Dutch and the stone wall, where Elizabeth just plays some sensible moves to get to the current position. And it's a very solid setup for black. Black is very hard to break down. That's why it's called the stone wall. But positionally, white does have this one big square that white can try to play around, and white can also try to kick away the knight there with a later f3. So it should be a little bit better for white, but it's just a very solid position. Is that kind of fair to say?
My big question is, what are you going to do with this bishop on d7?
Yeah.
And this knight on c7 looks a little bit odd.
A little bit weird placement of pieces, I agree. Well, that's a nice move. I like knight e8.
Yeah, knight e8.
It's a very nice move because the knight is now coming around to try and defend its brother there. And maybe even the knight can get to g4. That would be ideal, wouldn't it?
Would be good, because you do have to do things, because if you do nothing and you just kind of rely on the solid nature of the position, of course white will try to perhaps either open a line like c takes d5 at the right time and then flip, switch forces to the open c line, or perhaps even c5, which is one of my favorite plans, c5 b4, and then storm the queen side, as well as using this e5 square. It's
yeah, I mean, it should be a little bit easier for white to play, and Elizabeth's just moved the knight in there. There was a question if white could have taken on d5 in that position. I was wondering about that, but I guess black gets a counterplay. This is a more sort of standard way of playing, where Elizabeth probably wants to play f3, like we said, kick that knight away at the right moment. So it's a little bit better for white, and this is a game that, again, Germany, Elizabeth stepped up to the mark in the previous game. And she seems to be playing well again here, Jovanka, I'd say.
Yeah, she's playing well. I mean, this is quite, I think white has a nice pleasant edge. It just how, in terms of time, she's slightly ahead on the clock, which is an important thing. Yeah, I mean, I like white's position, but then, I'm a d4 player, not a Dutch. So I don't tend to like the Dutches so much. So we'll see.
Well, I can't say the same. I love the Dutchies. But I have to be honest, I've never played the setup we see here, because I've always found, if you're going to start mixing Dutches together, it's like you're mixing, I don't know, let's say Weetabix with a fried English breakfast. It doesn't taste very nice, when you put your sausages in a Weetabix and put milk over it. And you could say that this kind of position, it's like a Leningrad and Stonewall. And I don't think they mix very well, Jovanka. I think I don't like this mix personally. No.
I just don't quite see what's happening. I mean, she might get away with it. I mean, you often have to get punished quite quickly. I mean, if she's allowed to, maybe there's like you say, there's knight f6. But again, I'm just a little bit worried about this bishop on e6. It doesn't have a purpose.
No, but okay. We'll move on now. So far, a quick recap. It looks like Wagner is doing well for Germany. And Friedman will come back to a little bit later. Elizabeth perhaps might be a little bit better. So Germany's so far doing okay. And the next game is between Pat and Lara, and Lara of Germany with the black pieces. And you can see Germany's strategy, I think, Jovanka, that Germany are playing quite risky openings. I mean, look at this. This is a risky Sicilian. To blast through the moves, to show you how we got to this, it's an open Sicilian. And we now have the classical Sicilian, which is not so popular nowadays. One of the main lines here, and this is something we actually saw Fabiano use in the World Championship match. I think the qualifier for it against Sergei Karyakin when he needed to win. It leads to extremely exciting positions. And black has now got the king over to the queen side. White starting to target these pawns.
Yeah.
And here, black uses this lovely square on e5, which is a normal idea. White playing very sensible moves as well. And after knight to f4, what's happening here, do we think? Interesting.
Yes. It's
a tough one, isn't it? It's a tough one. I mean, this move, rook e8, looks a bit odd to me. I mean, you've got a lot of pieces in the way of that rook. So
yeah, I think it was played to kind of get some prophylaxis. And I'm just thinking, because this pawn on e6 could potentially be very weak to a knight d4. But then also this bishop on e7 could be rerouted to yeah, that's what I'm thinking, just to mobilize that. It's a tricky one, because I'm not entirely sure what the plan is for white.
It's an interesting
I can only see knight d4. I can only see knight d4 and try to mobilize that way. And
okay, so white is now moving the queen to put that, but I don't know if white's ever going to take that pawn, because you're walking into a quite nasty pin. And now maybe just bishop d8, as you mentioned, the bishop on e7 is not very good, and black would ideally love to get the bishop, and black has moved the bishop to b6, where it takes this very nice diagonal. And there's always ideas of black pushing with like a4 and either b3 or a3. So the computer really likes this position as white, Jovanka, and I found this in these structures. The computer always says, oh, white's doing very well. but that's not always true. It's a tricky position to play.
It's very dynamic, and I just, like I said, it's not that clear what the plans are. All I can see is like, okay, you maneuver backwards like Petra Pap has done to kind of put pressure with the rooks on the semi-open D lines, and again put pressure on this E6 pawn. I can see, but this knight on E5 is quite annoying. Okay, is there any immediate threats? I'm just thinking, but again, with this bishop on D8, I can now see that if you go to bishop B6 or bishop C7, that this F6 pawn will suddenly become weak as well. So
yeah, that's right.
And like you say, but then black has a lot more straightforward plan of perhaps going A4 and A3 and trying to maximize that.
Just go for the hack. And
yeah, so well, now we saw now take C3, and I'm not sure.
This is a weird move, yeah, but I think the problem was, as you pointed out, with bishop F1, white just wants to put the knight on D4, and then black has basically decided that a knight on D4 will be stronger than a knight on E5, but that is the triumph.
That is the black's pride and joy.
It is, and you've got rid of your best piece, haven't you?
Yeah, I would have given up material just because at the end of the day, maybe that E6 pawn wasn't worth it, and that E5 knight was really important at least to me anyway.
Yeah. Okay, well, we've still got 2 more games we want to just catch up with. So I would say here it's probably better for white, but again, it's building up. So Germany looking okay at the moment. The next game is the 2 juniors, and we have this current position after bishop F6. And I think this is looking fairly okay for black. I mean, that bishop is a lovely piece now. Normally in these kind of structures that you get here, white would be wanting to push with one of the pawns to create some play. But I'm thinking black can just go G6, bishop G7. So I certainly think black is not in a bad situation.
I think black is doing really well here, actually. Yeah, I really like black's position. This bishop on F6 is a monster. So not a fine word on it, but it's great. Black has the long-term trumps on the queen side. I can just see in an endgame with this A6, B5, C5 pawn. Oh, that's just brilliant there. And white doesn't have a plan. I mean,
well, I guess if I was white here, I'd be saying, okay, I'd be saying it's not the end of the world, because look, I've got a great bishop on C2. Maybe my knight can come in. I would be like, okay, I think everything you said is correct, that this bishop's lovely, the queen side. But I'd be like, right, let's just have a punt.
Yeah.
Come on, we're going to go G4, G5, try to swing the queen over, get the rook to H1. We're going to go all in, just have a go, see what happens, throw him at the black king. And let's remember, Germany have to win this match. And this one, the player is a bit outrated here with the white pieces, but this is maybe one of the danger balls for Germany. I mean, just go for it, I think. Have a little
I think you're absolutely right. I think the position demands that, because, I mean, traditionally, when you have this type of pawn structure, you want to be doing something like that. You want to expand. And I like your idea of G4, G5, because at least you get some squares. And
I'm trying to also at least dislodge that bishop. I expect it will come back to G7.
It'll come back to G7, that's for sure. But then, this bishop on B7 is quite bad. So you can try to make use of that. And I like your idea of going G3, King G2.
Well, he's gone G4. So
he's gone G4. He's gone for it well.
He's having a go. And I expect something like this will happen. Now, G5, black wants to keep the bishop sort of on this diagonal, I feel, and you want to block the bishop on C2 out. So G6 seems logical. And now if we punt G5, bishop G7, again, there's a couple of ideas. You can even try getting the knight to G4 so it can sort of come into this square. So knight H2, knight G4, knight F6. Not crazy, but I suppose you rank the other ideas just to go G3, king G2, rook H1.
Rook H1. I love the way the computer's like, no. But but to a human, this is scary.
It is scary, and it's much more easier to attack, isn't it, than defend? I feel, as a human,
Yeah, and especially black doesn't have so much time.
No, so this is interesting. Critical game, definitely.
Yeah, definitely critical. Yeah. So let's check out the last game.
Okay, and the last game here is quite a crazy looking position.
And it's like an accelerated version of the previous game.
It is, yes. It's like white's already got the pawn to G4, already got the king to G2, and already got the rook to H1. So first opinion is that, okay, this must be good for white. It's a King's Indian defence, though, where black has at least created some typical counterplay on the queen side there with this a pawn coming up. I mean, funnily enough, white's just gone king g2, so this allows black to start counterplay on the queen side immediately. I wonder if white's going to have enough time to start this attack against h7. Do you think that's going to? Do you think it's going to work? Is white just going to ram it down there?
Well, she needs to build some more pieces into it. So I mean, how is it going to do that? So okay, so first of all, it's black to play, right? So let's open. Maybe pawn takes pawn, or knight. I'm thinking also knight b. Yeah, I think pawn takes pawn.
Pawn takes pawn. I feel natural. And I mean, if I was black, I'd be thinking about trying to exchange queens because I'm a little bit concerned about my king. I can defend h7 later on with rook f8, rook f7, and then bishop f8. But
bishop f8, yeah. And I'm just.
What about knight? Can we go knight b4?
That's what I wanted to play because I'm thinking knight d3 and then putting my knight to f4. You know, the Caracan player in me wants to do that, put a knight on the post. But yeah.
Interesting position. Very, very. There's lots of interesting games in this round, and to take it to Armageddon, this is, as we mentioned, the playoffs for the quarterfinal tomorrow. Germany need to win because Hungary won the first match, so it's a very key thing.
The game points don't matter. It's just the match points. So if Germany were to win like 6-0, it doesn't matter. They would still be a playoff. So.
Okay, well, we can come back to this one a little bit later, and we will start going back through the boards again. Now, the last time we looked at this game, we quite liked Wagner's position. So how did it update? Well, we had white playing e5 immediately, and now he took on d5. And I remember this is quite a greedy approach. He's gone and grabbed on h7. Now, you don't want to play g6 here, thinking you're very clever because you're trapping the bishop, because bishop takes g6 would be a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah, it would be embarrassing, and after queen takes king e7, and you have bishop g5.
Got a nice choice here, haven't you? where does the bishop? I like bishop g5. Bishop a3 is quite a tempter as well, but bishop g5 is good. Yeah. So we had rook c8 and now queen b1. So white's got his pawn back. White's king a lot safer, and I really do quite like white's position. More exchanges occurred, and now bishop d3, knight c6, rook d1, and now king b7. So black's thinking that is the safest place for the king. How bad is this for black? I'm saying how bad because it must be white's better. Look at the bishop on b7, a horrible piece. But it might not be that bad. Though. It's a good defender, yeah.
Bad bishops are good defenders. So, and the thing is, though, black is playing this game as though he's in an endgame. So white has to make sure he doesn't get into an endgame. I don't know. It's a solid position. It's a solid pawn structure. Edos is also a very solid player, so I don't know how to take advantage. Well, first of all, you have that big c5 square. I would try to do something there.
Yes, I mean, it's very hard to do a breakthrough here because, as you said, black's got a very nice formation, and to me, I was like looking for the pawn breaks, but I can't see anything immediate. So your idea? I
can't see anything either. And if white gets too optimistic on the queen side, you have to remember black is also threatening things like g5 and g4, and also to use that open h line. So has to be
a little bit careful.
Be a bit careful. So
maybe with white's last move, white is actually trying to look for this outpost on c5. The c5 square is an outpost because black can't defend that square of a pawn. And one thing you should often do to improve your positional play, this is a great tactic that actually lots of top trainers say do, is find a weak square, and also look at your pieces. I mean, look at your minor pieces, because minor pieces often are the ones you maneuver the most, and think, well, take that knight off the board. So just get it off the board and just think, okay, if I could put that knight anywhere on the board, where would I put it? Obviously, you'd put it on c5. And then you just trace a route from c5 to f3. And the route that you can trace here, you can go either way, is obviously c5, d3, e1, f3. So just looking at that kind of strategic idea, something like moving the bishop, maybe to f1 to defend the king, and then going knight e1, knight d3, knight c5, would strike me as a maneuver that Wagner is certainly thinking about here. Do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's definitely a maneuver to think about. But then He can't, you know, black is unfortunately 2 players are playing that game. And if you do go knight e1, knight d3, you know, I do have moves like f6. And again, I have pressure on this h2 pawn. So I'm thinking g5, g4 is still something very dangerous that you have to, so if you go knight e1, I'm just going to go g5 and then g4 and then I'm going to go for mate. There's also, if you get, I was also thinking perhaps maybe white should deal with that first, but perhaps playing some moves like g3 and h4. Okay, so an f5 has been played.
This makes a lot of sense. I think you're trying to, when you go g5 now, g5 becomes a lot more dangerous for white because you've got 2 pawns coming at you rather than 1. The question is, I suppose we can't take there. Positionally, this would be a bad move. Yeah. But I do want to have a look at it because the king is on d7. So I'm kind of thinking, okay, it's positionally bad because after pawn takes, I've improved black's pawn structure, given you maybe the g file, but you have your king there. So can I do like rook e1 now, for example? If I took and go rook e1, threatening bishop f5, I'm trying to rely on some tactical ideas to get to the black king now. This is
I'm not sure. I kind of have to say that I'm not sure. I do think that black is probably okay though in that position because there aren't that many attackers. I'll be a little bit more worried if there were more minor pieces on the board, but there aren't. So say if I went queen d, if I spotted your idea, I went queen d6 and go, what next, Simon?
Okay, well, I might just double up there and just try and increase the pressure here. By the way, he has taken on f6, so this move was a double-edged move, but he's gone for it. He's gone for the tactical solution. I mean, in this kind of position, you're right. I mean, it's not anything immediate I can do, but I mean, I have to be careful I don't try something like knight h. Well, move the knight here, don't I?
I was going to say there is that threat of queen takes h2. Yeah, so you have to be
a little bit careful. But maybe something like rook e3, and I just want to go rook e1, queen e2, and just like, okay, you know, let's try that going up. Might be all right. We'll see. Anyway, this has occurred.
It's certainly an exciting position. At least.
Well, interesting. He took with the queen on f6.
I didn't expect that. No. Well, the thing is with online chess, right? You do have to wonder about certain moves, whether it was a mouse slip.
Well, if it was a mouse slip, it wasn't one of the worst mouse slips I've seen.
No, it wasn't the worst mouse slip. But, I mean, perhaps he wanted to take with the pawn because taking with the pawn is so natural. And taking with the queen...
It seems odd, but I mean, his idea, he's gone for your g5.
Okay, gone for g5, yeah.
And I mean, I have to say, being a French defense player, you often get this kind of position in French. I definitely prefer white here. I mean, I think the white king is still safer. I know the h file looks dangerous, but we can defend against that. And this is now this massive square on e5, which I can always try to just plonk a piece into at some point. I think white's doing well. By the way, we have a draw on board 2. So that is now, and remember, just anyone who was tuned in late, Germany have to win this game.
They have to win.
So quick flick through the other boards. We have Elizabeth Patz, whose position looked quite nice. This is getting very interesting now, with black suddenly getting a very dangerous d pawn. But the black king is in some kind of trouble there as well. So this is.
I actually think black is in big trouble. I don't think this d3 pawn is that scary, in fact. Because, I mean, at the very least, you can swap off queens. I'm just thinking something like queen. Yeah, well, I would try to do it so that I get the move, and then I can go king f2, and then king e1, and king b2. So I was thinking maybe queen h8. These are just...
Right, sure. Yeah. And then king here.
Yeah.
Then would you swap queens off? So let's have a look.
Well, maybe not there, but I would, you know, and just saying it as a possibility that you can always kind of check that kind of a move with king f2, king e1, king d2, and we win it. So
yeah, I mean, it's a very concrete position, I think. Now what I mean by that is it's black has one idea, d2, d1. If white can stop that idea or create some threats or, you know, nasty threats, and white's going to be doing very well. But it's either so queen h8's being played, and I think we should say white's always got some kind of perpetual check.
That's true.
Is white is Elizabeth going to take the draw? I don't think she should take the draw.
I think she's just going to repeat move to get some time. It's a good strategy.
How do you win this position, and what would you play? How would Elizabeth go about actually doing something here? can't see anything too simple. King f8. It looks like it should be good for white because of the queen and bishop, but if you don't do anything straight away, d2 will of course come. So you've got to find something here to push that one around. I can't see anything easy for white.
No, there's nothing easy. I mean, other than going into this endgame.
So let's have a look at that ending, because if Elizabeth does decide to get the queens off and play king to f2,
yeah.
If you can get, as Jovanka says, the king to d2, very likely to be good for white because you're going to win the pawn on d3, and this might be some chances for white to try and push this one. I think this is kind of a key game, Jovanka. Elizabeth did very well in the first one, and
yes, she won her first game, and so yeah. I do think that Germany are slightly. They're slight favourites on the women's boards.
We have a result, by the way. We have a result, and this is important. And it is a win for Hungary. So that is not good news.
That is not good news, and it's on the junior board again. So it
is. Should we see what happened here? I mean,
let's see, because we did think that white potentially could start an attack.
So how did white go about it? Well, white did actually play knight to h2. And white did go for this plan, and generally anyone who copies my plans is probably going to end up losing. So we see the rook comes around, the knight now starting to look a little bit threatening, but black keeps his cool, defends f6.
Yeah, it's a nice move.
f4, bishop c8. So black's really gone a little bit on the defensive, but these two moves, they're nice little moves.
They're great moves. They're absolutely great moves, because it's just improving. The bishop was not doing great job on b7. Yeah. So.
And as soon as you get rid of that knight, it's actually okay. Well, now white doesn't have any attacking chances, because there's no way you can checkmate a bishop with a bishop on g7. So black's queenside play is probably going to come through now, I guess, Jovanka. Yeah. c4, and now nice move, nice a5. Touch. Really nice move. And the point of this move, well, excuse me, let's go back, is to get a position like this, and you can see that these pawns, okay, they won the game eventually.
Yeah.
That was really nice defensive play, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Queen d8. Let's have a look.
If we go back to because I just can see that the times are very. We're now reaching the seconds.
Okay. So well, let's move on. So another game here with king g2.
White has 20 seconds on the clock. Sorry, I'm drawn to this drama.
And let's see. So white playing quite positional. I don't like the way white's playing this.
No, it's too positional. Okay.
Too positional. White's playing far too passively here. And I think this is going to be a win for Germany. Yeah, look at this. White's just put all the pieces so passive there.
But not only that as well, you have 21 seconds versus 2.5 minutes.
This is going to be a win for Germany, without a shadow of doubt. Yeah. I mean, you've got the other rook coming here. This is a really important win for Germany as well. Again, we're talking Germany have to win to get it to a playoff. They do have
to win, and then to take the match to Armageddon. So,
so the question is, I mean, okay,
Can we go back to the top game, that one? Okay. Yeah. Wow.
Right. So things have changed, and I think we should catch up very quickly on what did happen. So we last looked at it around here, with black starting this counterplay, and now g4 opening up the king, and the position is becoming very, very unclear now. Is black's play, is it good? Is it breaking through? Has black made a lot of progress, or is it actually now white's who's getting ready to play? Yeah, it's going to be white's turn, isn't it? Bishop f5, pawn f5, something to f5.
Something to f5. I mean, that king, I have a word for that kind of king on an h1. It's hiding in plain sight.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, look at the coordination of the white pieces. I mean, you just have to get in.
Very nice.
F5. So it's just a question.
Maybe f5 now. If f5 works now, it works. And this is another case when you use your opponent's pawn actually as a defender. I mean, black would love to like sneeze and knock that pawn off the board, but you can't really do that on the internet, you know. You can't sneeze and take a pawn off. Maybe in a real game you could give that a go, but probably a bit morally wrong. And F5's been played.
F5's been played. Okay, fantastic. Now we have it. 7 seconds. Oof. Okay.
But look at the time.
I know.
And
do you take the pawn? Do you risk it? Okay, he's taking the pawn. Okay, I suspect there's going to be a checkmate. So, Germany are going to strike back. So,
yeah, I think Germany can take it to the Armageddon.
We might see an Armageddon here.
Yeah.
Okay, now the queen is going to come to E.
It's just checkmate, isn't it? I think
it is check. It's going to be checkmate. Yeah. Queen E5, king. Yep, it's game over.
Game over because your bishop can come to E4 to deliver the final checkmate.
One more check.
And then this one is going
to
end the game.
And then now the bishop comes to E4, and then that's it.
That's the end of the game. So very nice.
Germany have.
We have loads of results, by the way, not just that one. Okay, so Germany, now are going to be winning on this board, clearly. We have another result here, and this was a win for Hungary. Whoa, so it's very close.
So Hungary 2-1 so far, and then now?
Okay, this one was Hungary, and this one Germany did win. So
Germany did win, so it's a tie. So
it's all on this game, on Pat's game.
It's all on whether Lizzie can win this endgame.
Oh, that's a bit of pressure, isn't it? So this is like, can Elizabeth be the hero of the day and save Germany by getting the second win? And we've gone into that ending you mentioned as well, Jovanka.
Okay, let's see how it's played out.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we have. So let's catch up. They both got a bit of time left, and now is white. Ooh, black's got the king to D4. That's a bit cheeky. H5. Lizzie needs to win this game to take it to an Armageddon playoff.
So
it's key game. This one.
Okay, and the time situation is pretty level. Both of them have around 50 seconds. So,
I mean, the one thing I'm obviously thinking here is if you just push the A pawn, and then you can get some position where your king might be getting nearer to these pawns. And
I think that's the only plan I can see. That was a mistake for some reason. Maybe because the bishop needs to go on more diagonals. It has to be
A5.
A5.
I think this looks winning for white. I mean, I think it must be winning.
Yeah. Okay. So
this pawn is so strong. Yeah. So the way we're thinking this is going to be won is the black king might have to come over, and it might have to go this way to look after that pawn.
Because I'm thinking that bishop needs. What if that bishop goes to G8? I think it needed to do something. Go on to the D5.
Well, it's gone to G8 now.
So but bishop C6.
Well, you can just take the pawn as well, maybe, and put it on E4. It's probably the simplest way. Just must be winning now.
Yeah, I forgot. I was too absorbed in all the detail. I was like, okay, the bishop goes to C6 and then A6.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like Lizzie's going to be the hero. It does. She's going to get a second win, unless, I mean, it's still not totally clear, but the winning idea here is probably put the bishop on E4 now. It must be right.
Yeah, it must be great.
And then you put the bishop on B7 and you just push. And the point is, if you play here, I don't think black can take this one, because obviously the A pawn is just queening and the F pawn is easy to stop. So let's have a look. So bishop takes D3, bishop D5. Lizzie is thinking she's got to find bishop E4. She has found it.
Yes. And now bishop C4, like you say, bishop is met by bishop B7.
I think we just go bishop here. And then you have...
what happens if I go king C5? I mean, that must be lost. King B6. Huh?
Oh, this is a draw now, the computer says.
This is a draw?
It doesn't look like it would be a draw. Okay, we'll stick with the game because bishop B7, king C5, king C3. Oh, that's nice. You gain a little tempo, yeah?
Yeah.
With king C3. Bishop E2, and now A6, king B6, king D4. And this is what we said earlier. The king's just going to come and take these pawns.
Yes.
Because the black king's distracted. It's completely winning for Elizabeth. It's going to go to Armageddon. Great victory for Lizzie, yeah?
So in the case of Armageddon, just a reminder for everyone, the team captains will choose their best player, and it will be just one game that decides everything.
That's right. Okay. And it's certainly Armageddon now. Black's completely lost there. And it's going to be one game, the time limit in Armageddon. White gets 5 minutes, black gets 4 minutes, but white has to win. If it's a draw, then it goes through to the person who draws. So this is going to be incredibly exciting, and well done to Lizzie. So Germany win the second match,
and then you can see Lizzie with a big sigh of relief.
Looks like she got some supporters there in the background there as well. Is that pink? What is that? Pink piggy?
Oh, so yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, it looks like a pink something giving her some support.
Elephant.
So, yeah. Elephant in the room. Pink elephant in the room.
Pink elephant in the room. Yes, let's not.
But okay,
yeah.
Good stuff.
So she's the heroine of the match. Wow. So we're going to see our very first Armageddon. So one game. Which player would you choose, do you think, if you were the team captain?
Ooh, I mean, I'd be tempted to choose Lizzie after that performance, but
no. She needs a break. She needs an emotional break from that. But that's a quite tense game.
I mean, I think these guys know who the best blitz player is, and I think Germany would probably go for Wagner because Wagner's young. He's a good blitz player. He's the highest rated guy.
Yeah.
Just pick Wagner if you're Germany, and if you're picking a play for Hungary, I don't know about Hungary's a bit more tricky. Let's just have a look. You either go maybe for this youngster here because he got 2 out of 2. He seems to be playing well. Adam Kozak, maybe.
Yeah. Kozak. No, Kozak's young though. So
which is a good thing, I guess.
He's the strongest player. I mean, he's maybe Banush.
Well, you got Erdos as another potential guy.
He's good. He's good if you had the black pieces, but remember they won't know the colors until they've chosen the players. So tricky. And also you have to remember, do the players actually want to be the one in the spotlight? It takes a certain character to be the one that kind of has to uphold their nation's honor.
It's a really tense game when, a team competition comes down to just one individual, and that one individual is going to decide if you go through or not go through. I mean, that's pretty scary, because you don't want to mess up.
I don't think I would want to do something like that if they are. I mean, I would do it if they said, right, just do it. But if I had the choice, I would probably point the finger at Mickey and go, "He do it."
Yeah, I mean, Mickey's very cool in blitz situations.
Exactly.
This is Mickey Adams will talk about for England.
It should be kind of like some random potluck or something. It should be like, okay, spin the dice. Oh, look, it's the junior under 20 girls who will decide.
Okay, so we're just going to check. So the score was Germany won on the top board there. So it's 1-0 to Germany. It was a draw on board 2, 1.5 half to Germany. Elizabeth won 2.5 half to Germany. And then it's 2.5, 1.5 after this game. And then 2.5 all after this game. And the deciding one was this King's Indian defence. So another great victory. The girls did it. The girls did it really in this match. They brought through the bacon.
I mean, I always thought that the women and the girls were stronger on the German team.
Yeah. So we're going to wait for this Armageddon to be. I mean, it is. You mentioned like a penalty shoot-off. Anyone who watches football, and it's not called soccer, it's called football, will know what we're talking about. That sometimes you have to step up to the mark.
Yeah, sorry? And the English have nightmares about this scenario.
They do. They've lost so many penalty shootouts to Germany. To Germany. But you have to be cool, don't you? You have to step up to the mark and take that penalty in front of everyone watching. But this is even worse because it's not just one penalty.
Yeah.
Well, it is one penalty. I mean, in football, you've got various people taking the penalties. So if someone misses, okay, someone else might miss as well. So the blame's kind of shared. But in this one, it's just one person. You're either going to be a hero or villain, Jovanka. Hero or villain.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want that. Like I said, I wouldn't want that gift bestowed on me. I would say to give it to someone else. But it's tough. I mean, I think if I were Hungary, I would probably choose Erdos if I was a Hungarian team captain, because he's a very experienced player. You're right. I think if I was the German team leader, I probably would choose Wagner.
Yeah.
And he's young, enthusiastic. It's one of those. So maybe a rite of passage or something. So. Yeah,
I think it's really going to come down to who's going to keep their nerve the better. I would say Germany are slight favourites because they've just come off a victory, and maybe that's going to help them. But really, anything else is possible. Just to let you know, also what else is going on today. This is only the first match of the day, and we're looking at the playoffs for the quarterfinals. The quarterfinals start tomorrow of the chess Olympiad, which is the biggest chess event online in the world, and they've managed to put this now online. It's a great event. And after this match is over, we're going to have what I think me and Jovanka are most looking forward to, and it's China versus Ukraine, Jovanka.
Right.
The next match. That's going to be awesome, yeah?
That was going to be absolutely brilliant. I do feel a little bit sorry for Ukraine. I think China will come at them with a huge, amazing team. Yeah, but I think, wow, we're going to be treated to some great chess.
Yeah, so we have China, Ukraine, the next match after this. Then Greece versus Armenia is going to be about 1 o'clock my time, which is that's a couple of hours from now, 2 and a bit hours. And then the last match of the day is Bulgaria versus Poland, and the winners of any of these matches go through to the quarter final. So big games going on.
Yes, definitely. And a lot of the matches you can see are probably one-sided. Like I would say Greece versus Armenia. I mean, I would say Greece are real underdogs there. You know, you're facing the Armenian school of chess, very heavily subsidized. And I think the Greek team are not, they don't even have a team captain or team coach. And then you have other teams like Bulgaria and Poland. I think it's just too close to call. I really couldn't say anything as to which one I would choose there. But yeah, definitely looking forward to China versus Ukraine. You know, we get to see Ivanchuk play.
It's always good watching Ivanchuk play.
Good.
I hope we get the camera on him. I mean, he's one of the most fascinating players to watch with the camera. Ivanchuk, he has his interesting mannerisms, and it would be great. And I mean, you don't know. I mean, China obviously favourites to beat Ukraine because China are, well, one of the strongest nations, if not, could even argue the strongest nation. They've got great team spirit. But Ukraine, they have Ivanchuk. They've got a very big history of great chess players. So they could pull off a bit of a surprise there as well.
They could pull off a surprise. I mean, the junior board would be quite interesting to me because I know the Ukrainian junior, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He got 100% score, I think, in the top division. So, yeah, I mean, and like you say, it just depends on nerves. It depends on players' forms. Maybe even time zone, just little things like that. It can all hinge. So I'm looking forward to it. But first, we're treated to an Armageddon match.
I know.
I can't wait.
It's going to be quick and fast commentary for the 5 versus 4 minutes. It's going to be hard for us to keep up, but it's going to be. I love Armageddon. It's so exciting. I mean, a lot of people do say, "Oh, Armageddon ruins chess," but come on, we want the excitement. We want that rush, so we want to see it.
I must admit, you do want that exhilarating feeling of watching someone under stress. And just thinking, that's not me.
It's actually one of those things, like a lot of comedy is always laughing at someone. And if it's not you, it's like you can feel the tension. So I think, Jovanka, we are going to take a short break now, just while we get ready for what is going to be really, really exciting. It's the Armageddon game between Germany and Hungary. Who's going to go through the quarterfinal?
I know. I can't wait. I can't wait, Simon.
It's going to be great. So we'll take a short break and be back very soon.
Okay.
We are back for the Armageddon, and not that dodgy film which some of you may have seen. The Armageddon between Hungary and Germany, and this is going to decide which team goes through to the quarter-final. It's really going to be very tense. We know the players. Hungary have what I think is probably the disadvantage of the white pieces. You don't often hear that, with Tamas Banus playing white, and indeed Dennis Wagner is playing black. Now, the reason it is maybe a disadvantage is that you have to win with the white pieces. You have 5 minutes against 4, but if it's a draw or black wins, Germany goes through. Are you excited, Jovanka?
I'm super excited. It's not often that you get an Armageddon. Like, when was the last time you've ever played an Armageddon? For your country as well, to represent the whole of your country, whether it goes through to the next stage, the quarterfinals. Oh, yeah, I'm beyond excited, Simon. What can I say? I'm a sucker for this type of stuff.
It's going to be brilliant. Oh, we're in.
We're in. Okay.
The moves have started. So
Wagner will be playing quite solid chess. That's my prediction, and we can see that's a.
It's actually a bit surprising that White's gone for this symmetrical structure. White has to win. You can see the time situation. White has a bit more time. The other thing I want to point out is in Armageddon, there's no increment. So you can really flag your opponent. And, you know, even if you've got lost position, flagging comes into a lot. But normally when you're trying to win, you don't go for a symmetrical pawn structure.
But maybe he's gone for, because normally I associate doing Armageddons when White has the black, when the player of the white pieces will go all out for an attack. But maybe he's trying to kind of take it to the long haul, take it to an end game, whereas long play, and black just doesn't have time to defend. Maybe that's the strategy, because I'm really surprised by the opening choice, because it's just a small edge. It's a grinding kind of edge where you're just kneeling out. So yeah.
Indeed. And I can see in the chat on Twitch, we're watching, people are sort of supporting different sides. We got, you know, Hungary, white, Germany, black. I don't know who you want to win. It's all going to be over in the space of minutes, everything. You're right, though. It must be quite a lot of nerves on this one game. I mean,
yeah, completely.
It's scary.
No, I mean, yeah, you know, white has to win. That's the thing. White absolutely has to win. And if he doesn't win in this, then he's going to get criticized for going for a small edge. Yeah. You know, he's going to get really kind of, well, why didn't you push harder? Why didn't you play the most aggressive line? And yeah.
I mean, pawn structure-wise, you could say that white has a small edge, because
exactly.
The main one is the c6 square. You can gang up on that on half open file, and black has the double pawns here. So yeah, structurally speaking, white does have that advantage, yeah, but you've still got to convert it, which is not easy here.
No, not easy at all. No, not easy. So, I mean, black has got very active pieces. Yeah, he's got bad pawn structure, like you say, but as long as you can offset it with active pieces or pawn breaks, then maybe it has a chance to liquidate into a draw. But remember, yeah, you don't get any increments. So, yeah, 2 minutes and 50 seconds versus 3 minutes 50. Okay, so yeah.
So I think this is a clever move, a5. The point being, in a lot of positions, white just wants to play the move b3. But now if b3 is ever played, black will play a4. And this is gaining black a lot of space, and meaning that black can also now attack b2. And white doesn't have the logical move b3 always, because b3 will come under attack. So black's strategy might be able to just double rooks on the b file. I mean, I know, you know, strategically here, white has some advantage maybe, but I'm going to be honest, it looks very equal to me. You know, white's going to have to do something quite special to break through, and this is not really a move you want to play, a3.
No, that is not the move I wanted to play. I mean, in fact, I wouldn't have been so happy with allowing this pawn to a4, because this pawn on a4 and this pawn on b2, it's quite nice because it just makes that b2 pawn a weakness. I mean, I just like that pattern because it looks like the pawn is a knight. You see what I mean? It's moving like a knight and to keep it. So those are kind of things that when I'm playing chess, I think of. So I'm just random.
Certainly, and but, I mean, this is something that
this is not a great pawn structure. No, not
you often get, and this it's this one pawn basically controls two pawns. So over the last 5 moves, black's made much more progress than white, and white only idea really is now to pressurize c6. But keep an eye on the time. There's no increment. You can flag. Black's under 2 minutes. Black's not going to get any more time. He's playing very slowly. So I think he's going to have to speed up as well. You know, you can't just sit there.
No, he can't just sit there, because like I said, you can go in for I don't think they're going to get any extra time by move 60, because sometimes in these Armageddons, once you reach a certain move, you get extra time. I don't think you're going to get anything like that. So he does have to speed up. And I think that's probably why you can see him play h5, just to kind of principle of 2 weakness, to soften it up. Soften up the white king side.
Yeah, often this pawn can come all the way to h3, which creates some back rank ideas later on. On the other hand, what's white's plan? Well, white's got to try, I'd say, either get a rook to c5, which would be a nice square for the rook, somehow rearrange his pieces here. There's not really much you can do with your bishops. Both sides, bishops are not great pieces. This is a nice little move to meet h4 with g4. Yeah. Wagner's speeding up now. It's clear he knows he's got to speed up. Bishop f6, maybe going for g5, so he's not defending passively. He's going for it.
G5 is a little bit, I would be happy to see that. So I'm thinking that white will maybe go queen d1 and then rook c2 and then slowly queen d2. But it's a bit slow.
Yes, but still, okay, now white is tanking. I think this is just going to be a crazy blitz. I think anything can still happen here. White has to win.
Okay, well, here we have it. We have g4.
He's going for it. He's going for some crazy idea now of taking the pawn on e4. So the tempo.
Do you think he'll go queen takes e4, or do you think bishop takes e4?
I think queen takes e4. The white king is a lot weaker, so you want to get the queens off. So queen takes e4, you get the queens off. And positionally speaking, this has helped white because he's got an extra central pawn. But I don't know. I mean, it's queen h5. Do you risk this kind of move? Wagner's under a little bit of pressure. Under a little bit of pressure now.
Well, Also bear in mind the time situation, 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Okay, if you were gambling now, who would you gamble?
I'm gambling. I would go Queen H5 for sure.
I would gamble on Hungary winning. I'm going to gamble the hero could be Tamas. Is he going to do it? Look at the clock. D5. Okay.
Well,
brilliant idea.
Since you've taken Hungary, I'll have to take Germany then.
Look at this pawn. This pawn's going to become a monster. Look at that pawn. Yeah. Look at Derek the D pawn's going to become Charlie. It's going to come all the way.
From taking that pawn?
Nothing. That's why it's a monster. It's 2 squares away. It's going all away. This is getting. Look at the time though. 1 minute.
Yeah. Okay. And now, now we have to create some counterplays. So
you have to be quick. Because but the thing is, in these time situations, you can see the stress on their face a little bit there, the concentration. When you've got an easy plan, that is so important when there's little time. And the easy plan is queen the pawn, but Black's going for rook h8. He's going for mate.
He is going for mate. I mean, there is nice control over the c8 square. So let's, this is going to be exciting.
I mean, I think if I was white, I'd probably go bishop f4, put the bishop on g3, because I want to cover the h2 square. Black's idea might be rook h8, queen h2. So I want to cover h2. Let's just try to play that first. Get the bishop to f4, and then I'm just going to go bang, bang, if I can.
Interesting time situation. You know, Tamas has only got 1 minute.
It's bullet now. It's literally bullet. It's gone bullet. I mean,
it has gone bullet, and Black's time disadvantage isn't that bad now.
Oh
no!
He's freezing. He's frozen. I think he's getting a bit nervous.
Bishop f4, just anything.
Just play c7, bishop f4. Just do something. He's gone bishop f4.
Okay.
And push that pawn.
Yes, c7.
Push it, baby. Push it. Push it.
You have to
look at his time. He's got 35 seconds. He needs to move. He needs to move.
Okay, yeah, this is exciting stuff. So now, what can white play?
These guys are playing like snails at the moment. Don't they realise they just got to move? I mean, I think positionally speaking, white should be doing well, but black has these chances. But it's gonna. I really think it's just going to come to the clock. I think it's just coming all the way down to the clock here.
Yeah. Bishop takes
25 seconds. Queen takes.
This is crazy. Okay, so now
threatening to queen the pawn.
Okay, well now you have to cover that, so you have to go rook c8, queen f5.
And does queen b7 work? If queen b7 works, just threatening to queen.
But then you go rook c8.
18 seconds versus 16. Just keep an eye on the time. Okay, just move.
Rook c8. Come on.
It doesn't matter what you do. You just got to move now. He who moves quickest will win.
Okay, now bishop b5. Remove the cover. Yeah. Okay.
Move.
Yeah, come on.
Okay, look at it.
11 seconds. Just come on. Okay. Now bishop takes pawn. Bishop takes bishop. Okay. No, I don't like f6.
This is like watching me play bullet. It's so slow. It's frustrating. 6 seconds.
But just imagine the mouse is probably not working properly for them as well. Oh no.
It's on the time.
So now it's changed. What's that? Okay, and now
position doesn't matter.
2 seconds.
Queen takes queen.
It's going to be a draw. Look, they're on second.
No, he's won.
He's won.
He's won. 0.3 of a second. 0.3 of a second left. Look at that. Look at their camera angle. He's gone.'s going for a celebratory run around. I've never seen that. 0.3 of a second.
How heartbreaking.
Oh, wow. That's insane. That's insane. I've never seen a finish like that in anything. Whoever says chess is boring, 0.3 of a second. And look at the last couple of moves. It wasn't chess. He went queen f4. Queen takes f4 was good. King g7. He could have taken the queen, but he went queen e5, and Wagner lost on time. Oh my words! And that's taken Hungary through to the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Oh.
Unbelievable. Gosh.
Oh.
Would it be fairer just to flip a coin?
I mean, it wouldn't have been as exciting, would it?
That's exciting. But
I actually got kicked out of Blitzstorm by losing a coin flip once, Jovanka. But I mean, that was exciting. That's what you want. You want the excitement. It's not maybe particularly fair, but what it kind of is. You're playing chess. It's the penalty shootout.
It's a fight, isn't it? You know, one of my favorite quotes about chess is like, chess is a street fight. When your opponent is down, you kick him. I love that quote. This kind of just shows how chess is brutal. So yeah, brutal. That's painful.
I know, very, very painful. I mean, Wagner must be really annoyed with himself there, because the thing was, I have to, I'm being honest, you've got to change your tempo in these Armageddon games. And I think changing from 15 minutes plus 5 seconds move to suddenly blitz chess is very hard.
Yeah.
But you've got to realize, when you get under a minute, just play something. Don't even think about it. Just bang out the moves, And both players were a little bit slow there until right at the end. But I've never seen a closer finish than that, Jovanka, ever, anywhere. I've never seen a closer finish.
No, I haven't seen anything quite like that ever, actually, where something as important as this has been just decided on time. But yeah, I mean, and even when you get to these like really short time controls with like less than a minute on the clock, things like the mouse, how good your mouse is, whether you've got the gaming mouse, whether you've pre-moved in the correct way, it all works down on like whether just moving the king perhaps was too much, because white just kept checking. So yeah, oh gosh, but that was exciting, wasn't it? We can't.
It was intense. That was intense. I mean, it's quite a different skill playing blitz on the internet than playing over the board, I feel. I mean, I much prefer playing over a board because, as you say, moving a mouse, I'm a little bit, my hand doesn't really coordinate very well with my eye always. So I'm like, oh, hang on a minute, there goes 5 seconds. I'd be useless in this situation. They just don't coordinate with the computer. I'm much better playing over board. But I do remember the dirtiest ever finish I saw in a blitz game was a very important blitz tournament, and there was 2 grandmasters playing next to me, and they were both very short time. One of them was completely winning, like a queen up, and his opponent saw that he had like 5 seconds left, but the guy, the queen up, was about to checkmate. And do you know what the guy with the 5 seconds did? He basically, who didn't have the queen, the guy who was going to lose, he saw his opponent had 5 seconds, and he pointed to the clock and he said, "Oh, your time's run out." and the guy with 5 seconds looked at his clock, and it suddenly went 4, 3, 2, and he didn't know what to do, and his time run out. So it was like, that was the dirtiest thing I've ever seen. That was just
that is. Yeah, there was that case, wasn't there? I think in Canada where someone wanted to promote a queen and they couldn't find the queen, and I think turns out that the opponent was fidgeting with that queen. And it wasn't dirty or anything, but it was just like, I want to promote a queen, But yeah,
I like that idea. So he was trying to push his pawn like this to that square, get a queen, but his opponent had stolen all the queens and put them in his pockets. Yeah.
But I mean, in online chess, that takes time because you have to kind of,
Yeah, unless it's automatic.
Yeah, you have to have auto queen. Yeah, it's much better to. Oh wow, wow.
Yeah. That's true. So, I mean, one more thing, a story I will say about the queens going missing. Did you hear about this at the British Championships once? A disgruntled chess player, this was years ago, I think before we were born, but a disgruntled chess player in the middle of the night snuck into the tournament hall, and he super glued down all the kings to the board. So when the players came back the next day, after about 10 minutes, they all tried a castle all across the tournament hall, and they couldn't move the king. So I don't know if that's a myth. I don't know if that's true, but someone told me that story. Who knows? I don't know.
That sounds a classic, actually. Maybe we might do that next British Championships.
I think so. Let's do it. Your gingers destroy the tournament.
Gingers destroyers, yeah. You touch that king? No. New rules.
Okay, well, I think we're going to take a break now. Just to let everyone know what's happening. That was one of the most exciting matches I've ever seen. Hungary have gone through to the quarterfinals, knocking out Germany in an insane game. The next match, which is in about 45 minutes from now, that's when we're going to start the broadcast, is the one we're most excited about, me and Jovanka, because it's China versus Ukraine. You've got the likes of Vanchuk playing. It's going to be a brilliant match, Jovanka, isn't it, that one?
That one is going to be absolutely fantastic. I can't wait. I mean, are we going to see excitement like we just saw in Hungary and Germany, do you think? Do you think we're going to see Armageddon?
I think it's very possible we're going to see a lot of excitement in that one. I mean, it's quick time limits. China are the favourites, but Ukraine are an incredibly strong team as well. So it could go either way. So we're going to be back in 45 minutes. Exciting start to the day. And everyone, we hope to see you then. So do come back for that massive match of China versus Ukraine.